Hello everyone, Marty Extinction Wrestlers here, and today I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. My very first WWE review, that being WrestleMania 31. Now, I've been trying to do this video for a long time, and I just was planning on doing this video for a long time, and I decided, now is the perfect time. Besides, because, etc. So how I'm gonna do these WWE pay-per-view reviews would be like, I'm not gonna include the pre-show at all. The only one I might do would be the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Let's be I don't think I'll cover that, but honestly, because of how I kind of expected it would have had Big Show winning, because near the end they kind of hinted at that he was going to win in WrestleMania 30, when with Cesaro, but yeah. So it's not that shocking that he won, but yeah. Anyways, I'm going to begin with the Intercontinental Championship ladder match with Bad News Barrett, the champion, defending against like Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, R-Truth, and of course Stardust, Cody Rhodes. Honestly, I'd say I like that Daniel did actually became the Intercontinental champion for a while. That was always one prediction I always had in mind was, will Daniel Bryan become the Intercontinental champion? Because, back one time, when I was playing when I was younger, I played WWE 2K16. I always thought, well, Daniel Bryan has never won the Intercontinental Championship. Kind of curious as to what would happen if he actually won that championship. Kind of like what would happen if the Undertaker won the Intercontinental Championship. But yeah, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in how his championship reign lasted. It was not that impressive, in my opinion. So, because he had to relinquish the championship later on, but yeah. I did wish he had a better run with the championship, because in my opinion, the Intercontinental Championship is without a doubt the best championship in WWE. It's my personal favorite. I just enjoy the designs of all the championships, like with the black one in the old age. Then you have the 1999 to 2000 oval globe thing that you had with other wrestlers, almost like characters. Sorry, I've been getting to my superhero mode a lot. And then you have the old age just with the white belt, and now you have the new one. The Intercontinental Championship is without doubt one of my favorites. So, but yeah. All right. So I'm at best I do think it was a decent match. Just disappointed with how the result went on. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. I have to say, I do like this fight. I definitely enjoyed the constant with the curb stomp into an RKO, or the constant curb stomp. I do think it was a very good match between Orton and Rollins, and I do believe it's WrestleMania worth talking about, because you have the famous scene where he goes for the curb stomp, then Orton counters it into an RKO, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And it's it was incredible. And you have the other guys, Seth Rollins' henchmen, or JJ, something like that. I kind of forgot their names, but yeah. Yeah, I do enjoy how he just destroys them. And unlike with Jinder Mahal in 2017, Orton was still able to win. So I do like that they do establish. Really, I don't think sometimes when you have managers who help you, they means you should win. And I think that's kind of why Jinder Mahal, for a lot of people, fell flat when he became the WWE champion. But yeah. Anyways, next up we're going to have Triple H versus Sting. Now, I have to say, this fight was underwhelming, because They established it was going to be it's a no disqualification match, but they kind of did at the last minute. This wasn't like in WrestleMania 17 with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin where it was changed at the last minute. Triple H and Sting, I think it was a very underwhelming matchup because you knew Sting was going to win, but Triple H needed help from DX, which honestly, given his type of character, was not necessary. If this was like in 2011 or 2013, before he refereed the match between John Cena and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, I could buy this sort of match between him and Sting much more. But when he's a heel, I think he works best if he had Orton or Seth Rollins came in to help him, or even Big Show, because Big Show was literally in the show. Hell, maybe even Rusev. I definitely did not like that he needed help from DX. Because honestly, I think DX was more of a Triple H when he was a face, or when he is a face. Yeah, he's not always a face. He wasn't always a face when he was with DX. There were times he definitely was a heel when he was with DX, but honestly, I think they should have established with someone else. I don't think DX or the NWO. I think the NWO makes sense, but not DX. AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins. I'm not gonna say much about this one other than I do think it's very underwhelming with AJ Lee, given that this was essentially her last WrestleMania. I've not really watched a lot of the AJ Lee's WWE stuff apart from a few things here and there. So I don't know what to say much, but I have caught up more with Paige, and honestly, I do think it's slightly underwhelming that AJ Lee won. Because with the Bella Twins, they were kind of almost considered to be so powerful at that point. You needed to be like a god to take them down. And I just wasn't a fan of that. So overall, not the worst match of WrestleMania, but not one of the best. I think that this one could have been a Raw. Like, there's a reason why I think matchups like, Michelle McCool versus Alicia Fox is a little bit more WrestleMania worth it. But yeah, because there's more emotion, more story, so you can post with that. Not really with AJ Lee and Paige with the Bella Twins, because you had AJ Lee who had some issues with the Bella Twins near the end of 2014. And then you have Paige and all that, but yeah. Rusev versus John Cena for the United States Championship. Now, I have to say, this matchup was extremely shocking. Because by this point, Rusev was considered by almost everyone to be the most unbeatable WWE superstar you can ever imagine. Like, you're like, who can take down Rusev? And you're like, it has to be someone like The Rock. Maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin, because no one can take down Rusev. Nowadays, after 2015, Rusev just became WWE's punching bag. Like, like when he lost to Orton, like, super quickly, like 10 seconds. Nothing against Rusev, just I think they should have done better with him, a lot better. But yeah, I do think it was nice to see Rusev getting defeated for once, actually at WrestleMania, his very first WrestleMania, which makes sense because it's the grandest stage of them all. And because when it happened, I didn't even knew John Cena has even won the United States title before I played WWE 2K14, the 30 years of WrestleMania campaign, as I like to call it. I didn't even know he even won the title, but yeah, because of that, it also felt more satisfying seeing Cena win a title and I do think Rusev was actually a very worthy opponent for John Cena, which I'm going to get into the next match, which is the Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt, but I do think Cena was a very good opponent for Rusev because it was essentially like United States versus Russia, just in a very different sense. Now, this is the matchup I'm kind of actually a little more nervous to talk about because obviously what's been going on with recent superstar who passed away, that being Bray Wyatt, of course. I'm actually a little nervous to admit this, but during his run in the roster, I wasn't always a fan of Wyatt. Not saying he did a bad job, just I think some of the story elements with him just didn't work well. There were times it was fine, but I just wasn't a fan of his time in the run. But then again, I've always respected Wyatt. I thought he was always he always did the best job he could, and he always put out some great performances. Just the times I wasn't a fan of him, and yeah, which I'm not saying which I hope that doesn't make me look bad, but honestly, it's just sometimes I wasn't a fan of his run in the company. That said, I still feel very sorry for what happened to him. Because obviously tragedies do happen, but sometimes they can affect others in ways that it affects them years later. Like even now, it still kind of like affects. Wyatt's death has affected me because because when I grew up with, I sort of did grow up with Wyatt because because in 2015, around WrestleMania 31, I was in 3rd grade, and yeah. Yeah, his death has definitely affected me and how he sort of changed, how he made WWE in a way. But yeah, and how he made WWE, at least as of right now, how it is today, or at least one of the few people that did. But yeah, so rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Yeah. Now that said, the Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. In a way, this is kind of like Batman versus the Scarecrow. Because I sort of knew from the beginning, I was like, this is essentially like a horror versus horror match, kind of like Batman and the Scarecrow. But I always kind of had a feeling that Taker was always too much. I mean, Taker has defeated Big Show. He's defeated Dean Ambrose before getting destroyed by the Shield. Yeah. Because of that, I'm like, yeah, I think he should win this match. But I'll be shocked if Wyatt wins. But yeah. Like I said, I think Undertaker was at least an interesting opponent for Wyatt because it was more of the horror versus horror. I also think Sting could have been a better match for Bray Wyatt. I do think Triple H and Sting could have worked, but honestly, they should have not made a no DQ, and they should have just had Triple H use the authority at best, not DX. And I did like how Bray Wyatt did not have any of the Wyatt family this time around. Like, you didn't have Luke Harper or Eric Rowan, which I did like because honestly, it's like, this is Wyatt going in by himself, doing this for the very first time. I'm battling someone he's never fought before, but just one-on-one, which I enjoyed. Overall, like I said, not the biggest fan of this matchup because in a way, you kind of know from the beginning Taker's going to win. But yeah, I might cover WrestleMania 30 in the future, but that might be for a different video. Now we got into the main event. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Now I have to say, this matchup was great. This matchup was amazing, and it was much better than their 2018 matchups. I think because of the fact of this. You started to question, well, who would actually win in a match? Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns? Because during this time, Roman Reigns was literally unbeatable. I couldn't even think of times he even lost. Like, around 2014, 2015, if you asked me the question, who would win in a match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, I would have been like, that's actually a tough one because Lesnar is very vicious and has defeated opponents like Taker and Cena. Reigns is one of the most unbeatable superstars in the company. So it's like, it's not like in 2018 where you just can point out the many times one of them won. It's like in those fights, those were underwhelming. This one, it wasn't, because the suspense was always around. Suspension, jeez. So the suspense was always around that. This, like, the tensions between who would actually win was around. And let's say Seth Rollins' cash-in was the biggest shock in the century, because I don't think a single person thought of it like that. I don't think a single person thought Seth Rollins would cash in. He'll probably cash in after WrestleMania at best, because he had to lose the case at one point, and I had to say his cash in was incredible. Though I do get a little annoyed when it's always after the WWE Championship with the cash in. It's like, I do wish they do other championships instead. Like, if I had the Money in the Bank briefcase, I would probably get the Intercontinental Championship, because I'm not going to go out there WWE Championship for all the time. And that's just how I see it. And same with the United States Championship. I'd rather go for other championships rather than just your typical WWE Championship. But yeah. Of course, Rollins cashing in and wins the title. It has got to be, like they said, the biggest heist of the century, to a point he even makes all the DC Marvel villains cry. But yeah, overall, this is one of the best WrestleManias in my opinion. I have to say, I think this is easily one of the best. There were definitely some weak matchups overall, like AJ Lee versus AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins, as well as Triple H versus Sting. But honestly, this is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. I know I was a little bit negative, but honestly, I do like this WrestleMania. I love the design for it. I also like how the logo of it, like, it's just WrestleMania. It's like there's like no like Roman numerals or number. It's like, it's just WrestleMania, basically saying a new chapter of WrestleMania ever since WrestleMania 30. For that reason, I am going to give WrestleMania 31 a B or an A. Not an A plus, just a straight up A. It's without a doubt one of the best WrestleManias, and I would really recommend checking it out. So overall, that's going to be my very first WWE pay-per-view review. I plan to do more of these, but I also might have some problems with some of them as well. I don't think I'll be able to get with the new stuff as well. I'll try to get caught up, but yeah. Overall, I have to say, WWE videos are definitely a lot harder to make than superhero videos, because with superhero content, you can just kind of point out, like, for instance, if you ask me, like, let's just do a quick one, like, who would win a fight between, like, Spider-Man and, like, Green Lantern Corps. Those kind of videos I can kind of point out. I can point out facts. WWE videos are definitely a lot harder than that, because you gotta look at how impressive are the characters, really. But overall, that's going to be it for today. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.